listening to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
What's up, Forgers? Welcome to Season 2, Episode number 87 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast all about Heroes of the Storm. As always, this podcast is brought to you by our amazing supporters on patreon.com/heroesforge. This is your show host, Jeff Reynolds, and I'm here with the co-host of the show, who is more awesome than when the first time a baby sleeps all the way through the night. It's Kristen Ashton.
Oh, you're bringing me back, man. You're bringing me back. I'm the oldest of 4 total, so 3 younger siblings, and I know that feeling because babies can cry. And even our neighborhood, you can hear all the newborns just going. This poor couple, every night at midnight, their baby kicks off, and you're hoping for them. You're crossing your fingers and hoping.
Yeah, it's something I hear at work all the time for people that have newborns. It makes me think, wow, that takes such an amount of commitment to be able to, wake up every 2 hours and do whatever it is you need to do to keep that baby from crying or put it back to sleep. And I thought, you know what, it must be pretty awesome feeling when they sleep all the way through. And Kristen, you are more awesome than that. You know what else is more awesome than that, I think? Is that the WoW 7.3 patch is going live this Tuesday, and we are going to battle on Argus.
Yeah, this is the big one, because before this patch, Illidan opened... Wasn't it Illidan who opened the connection between Argus and Azeroth? And everyone's looking at Illidan going, what have you done? And Illidan just smiles at the camera.
Yeah, it's like that. Yeah, he basically teleports the planet to come to near Azeroth, and Argus is there. And so with this patch on Tuesday, if you're subscribed to WoW, you need to get on this right on Tuesday. It's going to be really cool. And the thing that's really neat about it is that they have kept up on their promise, much like Heroes has with the hero release schedule and all of that stuff. For the most part, World of Warcraft has gotten huge content updates over the last year that Legion has been out. And this is just a continuation of that. 2 new zones, bosses, dungeons, a raid eventually. Tons of cool stuff. So, speaking of cool stuff, did you happen to see the new in-development video for Heroes of the Storm?
Well, of course. This is the one that officially reveals the Kel'Thuzad model. We have the Jaina skin, the new Jaina skin. My personal favorite, the Death Knight Sonya, no helmet. And then these sprays that really caught my interest. They're these 80s cartoon sprays. So there's this Thundercats Lily, and then this anime Rainer thing going on. He's got like these beautiful anime eyes, but he's dressed like Medivh, so I have no idea what's going on there, but I know I like it.
The sprays are so cool. I thought of you instantly when I saw the Sonya with no helmet.
I mean, it's a personal fantasy that I love. I love the barbarian that doesn't need to wear a helmet, because to me, that makes them even more awesome, because the head needs to be protected. The head is where your brain is. If your brain goes, so does the rest of you. So as a warrior, the fact that you would go in without any sort of protection, you better run for the hills if you see that coming at you.
Oh, heck yeah. I mean, the new stuff is so cool, and we don't have to wait long for this new stuff to enter the Nexus. And I mean, the other things that we didn't even talk about. Watch the video. There's new tints for some of your favorite skins out there. Tons of sprays, tons of really cool emotes for Kel'Thuzad. All that stuff is out there. Check it out. But something I saw on Reddit today was so cool. Such a cool idea that someone from the Heroes community posted out there, calling for another skin. We always talk about Janitor Leoric on this show, how cool that would be. But I saw this post for Vrykul, Valkyrie, Ariel. And if you've been playing WoW recently, this skin would fit Ariel in a really cool way.
It totally would. And we can imagine if the Sylvanas storyline is continued in this Argus patch, that the Vrykuls... This would be time after the Kel'Thuzad Heroes patch to bring in kind of a Sylvanas Forsaken celebration and bring in the Vrykul skin, since that's very much connected.
Yeah, very, very cool idea. I love it. It is so neat. Check it out on Reddit, and I'll post it on our website after the show is recorded in this show's post, so you can get a direct link to where it is if you'd like to check it out. Kristen, we got something special going on this week.
We do. Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 4:30 for you all on the Pacific Coast. We will be special guesting on the Nexus Trolls over at twitch.tv/trollsgg, and we are stoked.
Oh, totally stoked. It's always fun to, do mashups of these different shows that talk about the same thing that we're all passionate about, which is Heroes of the Storm. Check it out. Again, that's 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific. Nexus Trolls, which is on twitch.tv/trollsgg. It'll be a total blast. We got some fun stuff in there. A little bit of our show flavor will be sprinkled on top of that show, so check it out. One last thing before we get on to what we're here to do every Sunday night is that BlizzCon is in 67 days.
It is so close. That's, oh my, how many months is that? Do the math for me, Jeff, quick. I'm not a math person.
It's 2 months and 4 days. 2 months and 5 days.
Sick. It's very, very exciting, which means all of the last minute stuff is starting to come together. Because this year the cosplay is going to be that Deputy Vala, the cowgirl Vala. So that means the cosplay must be begun soon, or else I'm going to run out of time.
Oh yeah, and we've been seeing things trickling out here, especially at Gamescom, which was an awesome event. We saw the Hearthstone animated short. We saw the new Overwatch animated short. I really think these things should be, up for awards. I think they're so good. Both of them are incredible. If you haven't seen them, check it out. And also, the final key art for BlizzCon has been released as well, tweeted out by Blizzard themselves. It looks so cool, and the hype is real.
It's real, and it's going to be even bigger than last year, too. They even released those extra set of tickets because it was confirmed that another wing is going to be added to this. And it's amazing because even though I never went to the first few BlizzCons, there's still been growth every single BlizzCon I've gone to.
Yeah, they are passionate about it just as much as we are, I'm sure. And then I'm sure they're all ready for a really long holiday vacation after it's over, because it is a huge event. All right, let's get on with what we're here to do, and let's forge.
Let's forge.
Kristen, I was thinking tonight, I think what we should do is we should take a character that's not in Heroes of the Storm yet and imagine what they would be like if we brought them into the Nexus. What do you think?
I think that sounds like a really great idea.
Same thing we do every week. Pinky, try to take over the world.
So do I have to do? Nah.
All right, if you haven't listened to the show before, that's exactly what we are going to do. And if you have, welcome back. Let's get this thing rocking and rolling. We have kind of an odd hero this evening that we're talking about, but odd in a really fun way. Kristen, who are we forging tonight?
Well, tonight we are forging somebody you picked, Jeff, and it was a great choice. It is Scar the Zergling. So we're going back to this thing that's happened where we're given a character with very little backstory and really working hard to build it through the kid itself.
Yeah, which is one of my favorite things to do. And while we were, brainstorming on who we were going to do this week, last week, I was thinking, I really want to do that again because it's really fun to be able to just have a blank canvas with just a tiny little bit of parameters, and then you can have a ton of fun. And Zerglings, though, this is one thing I was thinking. Zerglings are the bread and butter, though, of these Zerg armies and what Zerg players really, it's the basic, unit.
It is. You could even say it's the heart of the swarm.
Snaps for Kristen. That was fantastic. Let's get an intro to Scar and his place in StarCraft.
Alrighty. Hatched on Char, Scar proved himself a fierce Zerg. by immediately killing off another zergling, earning him a broken mandible and the eponymous scar. He was eventually brought to Arctica in an ill-fated attempt to claim a xel'naga temple for the Zerg. Though he died, he managed to take down a Terran Marine before meeting the end. Later, though, it was commented that successful strains of Zerg could be continually replicated, hinting that Scar could live on forever, though his body be not his own.
Ooh. First of all, kudos for using the word eponymous.
Thank you very much. It's a great, great word. And it really, I personally see it as this wonderful way English speakers love their language, because English speakers come up with words for everything. Everything. Everything needs a name.
Yep, and that's a good one. That's a really good one. And this is a good story. I mean, starting off with killing another Zergling to kind of, set his name.
Exactly. It's kind of like a Genghis Khan story-ish, right? Because there's this story that goes that not only was he born clutching a blood clot that hinted at a greater future, he killed his brother when he was only something like 6 years old, so the tales go.
Yeah, I mean, and this Zergling is, a monster. No pun intended.
Yeah, he does what he needs to do. He comes out fighting, and I guess that killing of the other Zergling right off the start proves to his leaders that he's going to be fierce and probably should be replicated.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a really interesting part at the end there, because I believe it was Kerrigan that said that these strains of Zerg can be replicated. So who knows? Scar does live on.
He does, and maybe Scar is the replicated Scar is the one that comforts her when she thinks that Jim is dead in that very, very touching scene on her ship.
Absolutely, maybe it is. And Chad is saying that he is a good alien puppy, and I think that's the best way of putting it.
Yes, and not what is one puppy when you could have all 50, hundreds of these puppies? That's why the Zerg are the best.
That fact right there, alien puppies. Let's get on to forging here. We're each going to build a kit for Scar if we made Scar a hero for Heroes of the Storm. This one, as you can imagine, I'm sure, is going to be a little wacky and fun. So let's get started. And I'm going to kick it off this week, Kristen. And I'm going to start with role classification. And I'm going with Scar being an assassin.
I support this. I always support your decisions, but this one I really, really support because it's a Zerg. You do Zerg Rush. They kill things. It's what they do.
And doing research for this, I went on YouTube and watched, Zerg Rushes and stuff, and I remembered the frustration of being Zerg Rushed as, Protoss or whatever, and you just get completely wiped in the first 2 minutes.
Right, it's like your little home being overrun with these little roaches. Tiny little roaches you can't do anything about, but they outnumber you, they take you down, and it's the worst kind of cheese.
It is. Let's get into traits here. So my trait for Scar the Assassin will be called Fools Rush In. And like Kristen stated before, Kerrigan was the one that said that these strings of Zerg can just go on to succeeding generations of Zerglings. So that's where I kind of got the inspiration for this trait. So Fools Rush In is whenever Scar is killed on the battlefield, he immediately respawns at the core and continues the fight. Because of this, I imagine that Scar would have the smallest health pool in the game, making him a target that is quote-unquote easy to take out. But just like Raynor says, the scariest thing about the Zerg is that no matter how many of them you kill, they just keep coming.
Which is a fantastic quote to encapsulate this, right? Because I think when most of us hear Zerg, we think of the Zerg Rush. So how do you take a Zergling and encapsulate this idea of a tidal wave, a veritable tidal wave of monsters that just don't stop?
Yeah, and there are tons of cool ways. I mean, I think I probably typed out 4 or 5 different traits, and this was the one that just fit my kit the best. But I know there are people out there right now that are thinking, oh, what you could really do is this, or what you really could do is this, because there's a ton of really cool ways to come up with a Zerg Rush type of feeling. But I really wanted him to be an assassin that lived on his own, which is maybe different than most people would think, because of the whole fact of being a Zerg Rush is what we see in the game now, these massive piles of Zerg that are just dumping on the enemy.
Yeah, so with this one, so when you die, there's absolutely no downtime. Your camera would immediately flash back and you'd be up and out again.
Yep, just keep on rushing in.
Oh, and then Stukov comes out and he makes a little Russian pun with it, gives it a thumbs up. I love it. Now, how big is your Scar model? Are you going to make him... They've been described as big dog sized, or would you kind of mess with the size to be smaller?
I would say like a big dog size. So like maybe Murky size, Misha, maybe a little smaller than Misha. Obviously Misha's a bear, so that doesn't, but as we've seen in the game now with things like Garrosh and these other heroes in there, I mean, size is something that they're willing to play with. So I would say maybe smaller than Misha, a little bigger than Murky.
Yeah, definitely. And that sounds great, too, because that would set him apart from all of the spawns of Zagara and even the few spawns that we get from Kerrigan.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and then this brings us into the mounting and how Scar would mount, because he is that, Zerg puppy, basically. And that makes him sound really nice, but, you can see these images of Scar, and he doesn't look so nice.
But he's smiling the whole time. How could you not look at that smiling face and go, oh, he just needs some love?
Yeah, so maybe. I mean, his teeth are like, yeah, he needs some blood, I think. So I would say that he wouldn't have a mount. He would just move at a faster pace while mounted, like we see with a bunch of heroes in the game now.
I like that. Would you give him little wings or little add-ons to signify that, or would he just move faster, kind of like a grasshopper, and that he's got very powerful back legs?
Yeah, I think that. I don't think wings. I don't see them, but maybe, I think just kind of just trotting along instead of walking along. So this brings us to basic abilities here, and this first one I'm calling Jump. That's right. I spent a lot of time trying to come up with what this ability should be called, and I landed on the word Jump. So this is Scar's highest damage dealing ability. He can jump or leap into the air and latch on to an enemy hero. He will deal a large amount of damage on the jump and for the duration of the ride. If Scar jumps on an enemy's back, the enemy is stunned and the damage is increased. Scar cannot be removed from the enemy and will latch himself on to go for the ride of his life. Man, I was full of ride of your life puns here. He is untargetable for the duration of the ride. So the thing about this is two things that I'm thinking here. One, you leap, you hit, you deal damage, and then you're doing damage over time as you're kind of, ripping apart your enemy that you're riding on. And then the second part of it is that if he jumps on the enemy's back, they're stunned. So if they're running away from you and you jump on them and you happen to get them as, in that back section of them running away, they'd have to kind of solidify where exactly that would be, but it would stun them if you get them from behind.
Oh, gotcha. So you could latch on front or back, but if you get the back, that's when you get the stun.
Correct.
Nice. And with this one, oh my goodness, I forgot my question. So it's gnawing on their face, basically, gnawing on their backside, dealing that damage over time. And when he's done, will he just detach and fall down where he was, or will he kind of jump off?
So that's another good point, is that he kind of just falls off of where he was where you are when the ability ends. So there's a kind of funny gray area here where would they be able to walk through their gate to go to the other side if Scar is on you? And I would say yes, you would be able to walk through, and then Scar would be in trouble because you'd be on the wrong side of the gate. But yeah, so they basically just drop down, but they're not targetable while they're riding the enemy hero. But Chad is asking if AoE stuff could hit them, and I would say yes. Anything that does damage in an area would deal damage to the character, would deal damage to Scar while he's riding the character.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and then I remembered the main question I had. Would this be a skill shot?
Yes, you'd have to skill shot it. So if you miss the skill shot, he'll still jump in that direction. So you could use it for movement as well, but then you wouldn't obviously latch onto anyone if no one was there.
I like that idea, though. That's kind of a Swiss Army knife, right? Where even though you whiff it, you could still get some value from it. So it's not like you whiff it and you wasted mana, GG, get good. It can be used offensively, defensively, and then to kill if you wanted.
Yeah, and I did that because one of my basic abilities is a passive, and we'll get to that in a couple of seconds. So the second basic ability, I'm calling it Uproar. So Uproar is an ability that acts as a single target fear. Scar rears back and lets out a hideous gurgle roar that terrifies a target enemy in range. The hero is then feared and will run in a random direction for a short amount of time, allowing Scar to pounce and claim another victim. This directly combos with the Q ability to try to land a hit on their back and get them stunned. So you fear them if the RNG is in your favor and they run in a direction that you can get behind them and then jump on them from behind. Bada bing, bada boom.
Okay, gotcha. So the person, so you can jump whether they're feared or not. That's awesome, and that's cool that you're going with an RNG for the fear, right? As opposed to with Gul'dan, you lay down the circle, and based on where people are standing, that's where they run. That would make this one very, very, challenging, but at the same time not, because you can't really control where they go.
Totally, yeah. I think it would have to be different for a basic ability and for a single target fear. I love the Gul'dan fear. I think it's so cool. It's probably one of my favorite abilities because it's got such a Warcraft feel to it. But this one would be a single target, so I wanted to change it just a little bit to not be super overpowered because this can backfire on you if you're trying to use it to escape, right?
Definitely. And I think that's fair. Like we've seen with other heroics that have become basic abilities, you're absolutely right. Things get changed around just a little bit so that it's not a heroic level capability.
Right. Absolutely. And this all kind of combos into how do you make the lowest health character in the game an assassin? Well, it's this trait that's really going to help you out. So it's called Battle Scar. Man, lots of puns. Battle Scar. So, like Kristen said at the beginning of the show, Scar killed an enemy Zerg, or a friendly Zergling at the beginning of his life just to kind of prove his worth at the beginning here, and then was, basically looked at upon with honor because of this. So this Battle Scar is a passive ability that gives Scar a damage buff to the last enemy that he was attacking when he was killed. The buff lasts for the duration of his next quote-unquote life. He is able to do more damage to that enemy as long as he stays alive. This goes on and on and on for each death that he encounters in the Nexus. So you're out there, you're attacking Vala, Vala kills you, you respawn instantly, you have a buff to attack Vala again. And then if, you're attacking Vala and then you start attacking Artanis and Artanis kills you, then you have a buff to attack Artanis next time you come back.
Fascinating. So you've turned him into a very, very potent single target assassin. Now, is this one of those last hit is the hero that your mark goes on? So if you're in the middle of a group fight and you accidentally hit the tank instead of the Li Ming you wanted, ooh.
Yeah, it is. So you go in there and if you're attacking Artanis and Vala comes up from the side and kills you, your buff is on Artanis the next time you come back. And this would be signified by something in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen, and maybe even the enemy would know that they are marked for death when it comes to you. But I just see a great single target assassin, Scar, the bad Zerg puppy, sitting in a bush and it's got a mark on Vala, single target fear, starts running away, jumps, latches on, deals damage, riding around, GG.
Yeah, and it speaks so well to the little tiny lore that we have about him, which is he basically sound like he ganked some poor Marine who was already in a fight with somebody else. So this is basically it, but realized in Nexus form.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what I was going for here. Now, my two heroics, believe it or not, the first heroic is called Zerg Rush. And Zerg Rush is an ability that, when activated, it allows another Scar to immediately spawn from the core and then be controlled by the Scar player. The second Zergling acts exactly like the original Scar, but will not be able to respawn when it dies. It will have to wait until the ability is off cooldown and activated again. This can be talented into at level 20 to give another charge that allows 3 Scars to be on the battlefield at the same time. So a little bit of Lost Vikings feeling here when you get to this heroic, where you're going to have to be controlling 2 Zerglings on the map, but setting up that ambush is just insane.
It would be. And you're saying, so they act exactly the same, meaning you have 2 different Scars, each with their own ability bars, but the abilities are the same abilities. So you're simply switching back and forth between the 2?
Yeah, you're rocking it just like Lost Vikings. You're switching back and forth. Now, when the second Scar dies, it doesn't automatically respawn. It has to, you have to channel this ability again, which has a massive cooldown, right? But you could set up an awesome, shrine ambush or something with this, where you're waiting in 2 separate bushes. You have 2 fears, 2 leaps, and 2, and one of the Scars would have a battle rage, which would give it, that targeted ability for a buff on that hero.
Oh, no. Oh, it's so cute, right? Because you have a puppy in the front, you have a puppy in the back, and they're just giving you deadly kisses, and that's it. That's it. And so I wonder then, in that case, would you need to be careful as to who you target? Because I would imagine maybe it would be low value just targeting a super squishy, likely Ming, because she's dead before you even get all of your abilities out. Whereas maybe something like this would be potent enough to be a tank killer or something.
Oh yeah, you could use it for a lot of things, and I think the burst damage would be real. You would really feel it, because after that burst, that initial leap and bite and, strangle little technique, his auto attacks, so you're gonna have to be really close, and you have really low health. So maybe the highest, burst damage we know in the game, because it's only gonna be 1 burst and then you're dead.
That's fair. That's fair. So maybe it's not bad to say you want to use this for a squishy just to make absolutely sure that you get something dead. Because you yourself will be dead, and then you'll need to walk back to the fight. Not like the murky egg where you place it nearby and you just wait for those few seconds.
Oh, yeah. Totally. And Chad is saying that they assumed that it wouldn't have an ult. The additional Scar would not have an ultimate, because then you really would have unlimited Scars on the battlefield, which would feel really Zergy. But you are correct. There would not be an ultimate for the copied Scar.
Right, unless it's just a bug, day one. Day 1 bug. Everyone takes advantage of it. The games are insane. No one can play Heroes. And then it gets fixed really quickly.
I smell a brawl.
Could you imagine the Zerg Rush brawl ball?
Very funny. Okay, second heroic here is called Hell Unleashed. When this is activated, Scar will gain his attack buff for all enemy heroes for a short amount of time. This allows him to gain attack bonuses and dish out more massive damage. Also, this ability gives Scar more health, because I'm imagining he has mutated to gain resistance to the enemy. So when you pick Hell Unleashed, your health is increased, and you gain an attack buff when you activate this for all heroes, not just the one that you did damage to last before you died.
Nice. Now, is this health pool increase permanent or only activated when you activate the trait?
I don't know.
Ability.
What do you think? I don't know. I think maybe it's for good.
I like that it would be baked into this heroic as a permanent upgrade, where you don't have to, but if you do go with this would give you the chance to do the damage you need to kill and get out alive. versus going in and dying, going in and dying, going in and dying.
Yeah, so let's say that the health stays there, but you have to activate it to get your buff on all of the enemy heroes, which is basically, if I had to sum this whole kit up, the way it's a combo wombo burst assassin with really low health, but is always in the fight because you're never on a death timer.
I like that a lot. It really captures the Zerg Rush feel. Now, if you had a 2 words or, 5-word sentence to sum this up in a clever yet amusing way, how would you sum it up?
I don't know, Kristen. You're putting me on the spot here. Let's see. Who let the Zerg out?
Perfect. Wrap it. We'll call it a wrap. I love it. And it works, right? Because he just keeps coming out of the gate. Who let the Zerg keep coming out of the gate? We can't have this.
I immediately had to scroll down to see what yours was because I was like, oh God, I hope I didn't just steal her whole thing.
You did not.
I did
You
not.
did not, but I do like what you chose.
Thank you. All right, that wraps up my kit for the assassin. Before we get on to Kristen's kit, we have a lot of people that we need to thank. As always, we need to first and foremost thank our wonderful supporters on Patreon. Our patrons have been rock stars from the beginning. Thank you so much for supporting the show week after week. If you'd like to become a patron, you can head on over to our Patreon website, which is patreon.com/HeroesForge. There's also a link to it on our show website, which is HeroesForge.club. A huge thank you to everyone that has given us a 5-star review on iTunes. The show is really growing, and that helps out a ton. If you listen to the show and you like the show and you want to give us a rating on iTunes, we'll give you a shout out right here on the show, and thanking you for your support. Also, everyone that hangs out in chat week after week, the ideas are flying in like always, and that always spices the show up and adds a whole nother level to it. So thank you for being here as well. Kristen, it's time to hear your bad Zerg puppy. What is the role classification you're going with?
Assassin. I had to go with assassin. I could not of right mind know the little bit that I do about StarCraft and go with anything else.
Yeah, assassin, I felt the same way. You really could go specialist. You could go... you really couldn't go tank. I wouldn't feel that would fit really well. I think it was either assassin or specialist. So, well done.
Yeah, that's fair. It's specialist, right? And with March of the Murlocs, that's a Murloc rush in and of its own. So it certainly would have a place in specialist.
Totally. Let's hear the trait for your assassin.
Okay, the trait is called For the Swarm. Scar is not one Zergling, but many. A horde of tiny guys made from the DNA of Scar himself. Killing one awards a small amount of XP, but does not stop them. In time, the missing numbers are filled back out to max by nearby Zerglings that unburrow.
Oh, sick. So you're controlling a Zerg swarm.
Yes, yeah, which is very, very fascinating, listeners. I think this is an incredible comparison of builds, right? Because on one hand, you have the single Zergling unit and how that would represent the Zergling, and then the swarm itself, how that would even work.
Oh, that is so cool. So I'm assuming you're controlling this as one unit. Like you're not are you controlling each one of the little Zerglings, or are you controlling like a big swarm of them and they're all going the same direction, they're all doing the same thing?
They're all one unit, just one unit together. There is no way I would put that on anybody to control each individual one. I cried on the easiest mode of StarCraft 2 because I was having such a challenge with that. So in Heroes, no, it's one swarm.
Oh, that is such a cool idea, and I'm seeing some really cool stuff in my head about how you could make this really work, and I can't wait to hear your ideas. So how about mounting? How do these little guys mount up and ride faster?
Okay, these little guys, we've got 3 ideas for mounts. One, they have a little overlord that they crawl up into, and then it buzzes its way down the lane. It would go mount speed, not slower. We wouldn't hurt anybody. Or they all form a single form to ride a mount. So maybe they ride a motorcycle and like two are flying back because they're hanging on with their little Zerg arms and few are driving it. Or each little Zerg in the swarm gets a tiny version of the mount that you've chosen.
Oh, I can't pick any of these. They're all so good. We need them all.
Exactly, and I think that's something we could release with this Zerg swarm on PTR release day.
It's scheduled already. It's coming soon. Coming soon. This is such a cool idea. I think if I had to pick one that was my favorite, I think them all getting tiny versions of the mount probably win the day.
That was my personal favorite as well. I just love the idea of tiny, tiny mounts and lots of them. And the poor little Zerg, they're trying to steer the motorcycles, but who knows how they mount up on those things.
That is too cool. All right, basic abilities. Hit us with your first one.
All right, the first one, we're going with a classic, adrenal glands. When activated, the Zerglings attack faster for a brief period of time. Very, very simple.
So you're just basically being like, now attack faster, and they bulk up and they just start hitting harder.
Exactly. Maybe like little hardened carapaces appear on their fists and start going faster. They got stronger muscles. And maybe your screen is made to look like you're some sort of control of these little Zerg. And you've got little gooey things all around, so you feel like you are literally controlling a swarm of these hive mind critters.
Oh, that would be so cool. I want this in the game right now. This is such a great idea. So you're riding in on all your little individual mounts, and then when you get there, you can just hit this Q and go even faster. I'm sure their auto attack speed is even fast already.
Yeah, it would be pretty fast. It would have to be, right? I mean, maybe Vala at 10 stacks kind of fast, but when they're doing just their basic attacks, each individual hit from each individual Zerg, of course, wouldn't be a lot, but together, combined, suddenly you have a force to be reckoned with.
Oh, that is so cool. All right, what's your second basic ability?
Right, the second one, metabolic boost. When activated, the Zerglings move faster for a set period of time. Again, just a very simple speed. Zerg swarm, right? They're fast, they catch up, they get you. You activate your attack speed, they really hurt you, and then they either go in for the kill, stay there, or back it up.
Oh, yeah, this has got, like, Starship Troopers written all over it, right? I mean, just rushing in there, it's got such a cool Zerg Rush feel.
Yep, bugs everywhere. You don't know if you're shooting your friends, your foes. You're just trying to get them off you. And maybe there's animation where the little guys hook on and they're chewing on your arms. Maybe the Zerg backs away and your clothes have all been ripped up because they've taken bites out of everything.
Oh, that is such a cool Zerg feel. What's your third basic ability?
Okay, the third one is burrow, and I've added a bit to this one. It's not the simple underground, above ground. There's a little more to this with heroes. So when chosen, the Zerglings all burrow underground where they are treated as stealthed, only seen with vision. The terrain is passable by all enemies. When pressed again, the Zerg unburrow and immediately begin an assault on the closest enemy, and they also have a brief boost to armor.
Oh, so this is an ambush tool here. This is basically a stealthy assassin move. So you're going to get a boost to your armor. If you activate your other basic abilities, you're going to get a boost to your attack speed, and you're going to be able to move faster. I mean, that is a really cool assassin ambush feel. I love how we both had that great minds moment about ambushes. I don't know what it is, but that's what I really feel here too.
Yeah, it's part of the Zerg, isn't it? Because even in the cinematics, everything seems calm. And then suddenly, out of nowhere, it seems, Zerg everywhere.
Yeah. Now, Zagara!
Exactly!
This burrow is such a cool idea, though. So they can be revealed with vision. When they are revealed, are they able to be attacked?
I would imagine, yes, they would be able to. Very much like Nova or Zeratul. If you can see it, you can kill it.
Okay, so cool. So that answers my other question then, where even if you're guessing where they would be, you would shoot like maybe a hungering arrow at where they're at and you can hit them?
Oh, that I think very much like against a Zeratul Nova, if there's a burst of damage in the area, it would reveal them. But you can't do one of those single targets because you can't see them. So there's no way for you to know a single target would hit.
Cool. Interesting. I like it. Oh, that even secures your ambush even better. I mean, on any of these map objectives, you could just sit there and kind of hibernate and wait for them to come, and then GG. All right, let's talk about some heroics here. What's your first one?
All right, the first one is called Fat Zerg. It is said Scar was a Zergling that immediately took out another Zergling to prove his dominance. In this same vein, the chosen Zerg of this swarm will ingest his fellow remaining Zerg to become larger and more powerful. All abilities are activatable, but instead of controlling a swarm, the player controls a single massive Zergling with amped up abilities.
Nice. Oh, the animation in this I can picture is so Kristen, like it's got like this demon. I keep calling it a bad dog, but Chad is telling me that it's a good dog. I mean, if it all depends, good and evil is a matter of perspective. So basically this, Zerg puppy eats all the other ones and becomes like the alpha.
Exactly. And maybe he opens his mouth and the other little puppies jump in because they were ordered to by your hive mind. And so all he has to do is sit there with his mouth open, and then he starts chewing, and that's the channel. And then he transforms and gets to go wild.
It's like a medevac dropship, except you don't get out of the medevac dropship in this case.
Zerg rush in, but they don't rush out.
Absolutely. So far, this is the best ability of the night, I think. Absolutely, this first heroic wins. How do you follow it up with your second heroic?
Follow it up with a Zerg Rush, which would have to be, Jeff. It would have to be in this kit. You can't have a Zergling without a Zerg Rush. So, the Zerg Rush. Little do Nexus folk know, but all around them are buried countless Zerglings waiting to be called forth. Activating this heroic summons forth a swarm of biblical proportions that is controllable by the player. Like a tidal wave, it rolls over enemies, dealing massive amounts of damage and leaving nothing but desolation and destruction in its wake.
Oh, we've seen this in so many movies, right? Where there's this big wave of bugs or something that goes over. No. And then, like, as soon as they go over that, they leave and there's just a skeleton there or whatever, like a half-eaten corpse or whatever. But you're doing this basically with Zerg.
Exactly. We're going with kind of like a locust swarm, but with Zerg. So maybe they all grow tiny wings. And I would imagine once this is activated, there's a brief summoning period where maybe the good little Zerglings sing a little song, and it summons up from the ground just countless smaller Zerglings, and they all amass on one another and just go.
Oh. So we're talking like the size of maybe like a Ragnaros lava wave, like that big of an area of, I mean, so you want like, you're saying biblical proportions here. So I'm imagining just as big as a Zerg Rush in Warhead Junction. Oh, that's not Warhead Junction. That's, why can't I think of the name of that map right now? Braxis.
Yeah. Oh man, I don't know the size, but a controllable lava wave is a perfect comparison. Maybe not as wide, maybe not as long, but definitely just as destructive if you get caught in it.
Oh, that is too cool. All right, Kristen, if you have to sum this whole kit up, how do you do it?
Well, this one is probably one of my favorites. I would sum it up with hippity hoppity. We kill non-stoppity.
Oh, I stand defeated with that. I mean, who let the Zerg out is like kindergarten. It's child's play compared to this. That is hilarious. And I love how you brought up the point. We have two completely different assassin kits here. two completely different types of Zerg, like with the Zerg feel. And like we talked about at the beginning, there are tons of different ways how you could implement the Zerg Rush feel. And this just shows how there's two completely different ways right then and there. But before we can call these kits finished, we got to talk about the best part, which is the specialty skins and dance moves. I don't know how it gets any better than that. I can't. I'm at a loss for words. Let's get on to skins. Kristen, what is your specialty skin?
Oh, well, this one I thought I'd go with something I thought would be adorable. I'm calling it the Flea Circus. And instead of Zerglings, they're now little fleas outfitted for a circus show. So some have clown wigs, some have top hats, and some even carry mini props like the little horns that you squeak.
Oh, too good. Wow, that's really creative. And also, we had the pleasure of being on Kyle Ferguson's Team League stream yesterday, and he was calling for more circus skins. So this Scar or Zergling build or kit that you have announced here would fit perfectly in a circus build.
It totally would. And you could imagine the variations you could do with this little flea circus. But I just love the idea of a swarm of nasty little critters having really cute props, like they've crudely painted stuff on their cheeks and very poorly tied wigs to their heads that maybe one flutters off as the swarm goes forward.
I love it. The flea circus is such a good idea. So I have two ideas again. And my first idea is for Scar to be, and remember mine's a single Zergling, to be a lion like Scar from The Lion King. And then it would have custom voice lines like, "Stick with me and you'll never go hungry again."
Yes. And we get Jeremy Irons to voice it.
Yeah.
That would win. That wins the build there. If Jeremy Irons voices Scar, yes.
I need to win this build. Hello, Jeremy? Are you there? Are you available on Wednesday?
Jer, I need to call up a little favor.
Jer, like I'm best friends with him. Like I say, "Oh, Jer, what's up, Jay?" Oh, so sorry I missed golf on Thursday. Okay. My second skin here idea is a really like a rabies dog, like a mean dog foaming at the mouth. But like maybe you could even have a zombie, like a Resident Evil zombie dog.
Oh, totally. And I mean, the whole rabies thing is scary, very scary in and of itself. So I think if you go with that skin, you could really creep out some players. If you go with the classic rabid-looking Zerg dog, oh.
Yeah, and when I was doing research on this, I typed in rabies dog in Google search, and you're right. There are some scary looking dogs out there. So I thought just mean dog would be really, really good for this. And then my dance move, I'm saying he walks on his hind legs and does a front flip in the air because why not?
Why not indeed? And he would be powerful enough to do it too. That's so cute. It would be adorable. But then you'd need like a really cute puppy skin to go with it. Because that's classic cartoon dog trick.
That's right. I love it. That'd be really cool. What's your dance move?
I'm calling it the wave. And the Zerglings swarm together to create a wave that they all get to ride.
Oh, man, that's a really good idea. Some really, really good ideas. So they're riding this wave, kind of like crowd surfing is what they're doing with each other? Or is this like they're at a baseball game and they're all, woo, and they all like do the wave together?
Oh, that's a good question. I'm imagining they're forming a tidal wave, and it's ever circulating. So Zerg are coming up, and then a few are falling down to the bottom, and it continues the little circulation.
It reminds me of our Lucio episode when we were talking about Lucio. This will show you how long we've been doing the show. This was before Lucio was a hero in the game, and we're like, well, what would his mounting ability be? Well, it would be crowd surfing, right? And there would just be a bunch of people that are holding him up, and all of his fans would push him to the front, and the people in the back would run around to the front and catch him, and then they would just keep going forward.
It would be beautiful. Although those poor people having to do that run, those poor people, they'd be so out of breath by the time Lucio finally gets to where he needs to be.
Yes, I totally agree. But after all of that, we can say that Scar, the Zergling, is officially forged. So I got one word of hope about all of this Zergling talk that we've been talking about tonight, and that word is Probius.
That is a very good point. If we can have a probe, we can have a Zergling.
Absolutely, and that's what I'm thinking here. I'm like, you could totally have a Zergling, an SCV, like you could do all of those different types of, units from StarCraft. And maybe, Kristen, that's where we start delving more a little bit into on the show here when we start talking about StarCraft, is maybe we select a unit and we give it a name and do that whole forging from ground up that way, like they did with Probius.
That's a pretty darn good idea, because though the characters are memorable in StarCraft, you spend a lot more time with the units than you do the heroes.
Yeah, and we've spent a lot of time talking about the heroes of StarCraft. Maybe we'll salt and pepper some of these really fun forges like Scar into what we do on a weekly basis here. Scar was a ton of fun to forge, and we want to hear your ideas about anything that you hear on the show here. Send us a tweet. You can tweet us. Our Twitter handle is @ForgeHeroes over on twitter.com/Forge Heroes. Send us a message and let us know what you thought of tonight's episode. Also, Kristen, where can people find you in the interwebs if they're looking for all the other awesome stuff you do out there?
People can find me at Dream Destroyer, that is DRMDESTRYR, over at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram.
I have to give you a major shout out here, because it was just last night that I had a buddy over at my house, and we were, everybody was watching boxing or whatever, and we were just on Twitch kind of scrolling through, and we were watching some of your highlight videos on your stream, and I was looking at all of your cosplay for the ITN pre-show, and I think the thing that made my year was the Arthas cosplay. And how committed you were to keeping that Arthas cosplay alive the entire stream. Check it out, people. It's amazing.
It's really cool with what you can do with technology nowadays. It's basically kind of like puppetry. It's the CGI, it's the magic. And all you got to do is have a little bit of imagination to bring that stuff to life. And also, I don't think maybe the best cosplay, but to do justice to Arthas's armor, oh my goodness.
Gosh, they're all so good. Check it out, people. Kristen's got Arthas, Malthael, Tracer, Genji. I mean, tons of stuff. Check it out on her channel. It is so worth it. And you just find yourself watching it for hours because you're like, this is so cool. It looks so good. And you're playing heroes. Check it out, people. If you're looking for me, you can find me right here on HeroesForge. We record the show live every Sunday night at 7 p.m. Pacific, right here on twitch.tv/Amove TV, because we are a part of the Amove TV entertainment and podcasting network. For more great esports and video game podcasts, check out Amove.tv. Some really good shows over there that got us inspired to do this show in general, and we are really, really grateful to be a part of that network. We record Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Pacific, which I said already. You can check out our website, which is HeroesForge.club, where we have the other 86 episodes that we've done over there. You can check out all the VODs on YouTube.com/HeroesForge. And also, you can download this show on any of your favorite podcasting apps of choice: iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, and so on. Check it out. It's HeroesForge, all one word. Also, if you have an idea for a hero that you'd like to see on the show, or to be featured in our monthly featured Forger episode, you can send that to us in a bunch of different ways. You can tweet at us, you can send us an email at contactheroesforge@gmail.com, or you can use the contact tab on our website, heroesforge.club, to send us more information on what you got. And we got a ton of really good ideas backlogged, and I know some more are on the way. We received some great messages on Twitter, so send us your ideas, people. We want to hear them. This is a community-driven show, and it is awesome. Also, just the last reminder here, we will be on the Nexus Trolls this Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, Twitch, or 7:30 p.m. Eastern, 4:30 p.m. Pacific, Nexus Trolls, which is twitch.tv/TrollsGG, and BlizzCon is 67 days away.
So excited. The final days. And also, too, not only is BlizzCon 67 days away, but it is the Amove Frog Pants meetup at the Con Before the Storm.
Con Before the Storm, which they will have a Heroes of the Storm panel, which I am so excited to be part of this year. More information when it comes closer to Con Before the Storm. We can't talk about it too much because we'll just get too hyped, and then we'll all have to just go watch Game of Thrones, which we're only like sorta hyped about.
That's right. Isn't tonight the series finale?
It is the season finale. The series finale is next year. They're making us wait a whole nother year.
Oh, jeez. I thought it was the end, but tonight means that I can binge watch this entire season and be caught up in, I don't know, 60 hours or so?
Yep, something like that. Also, Chad is calling out that we should do a Kel'Thuzad release stream, and the good news is we are. We're doing a special partnered with Blizzard Kel'Thuzad release stream, doing a bunch of cool stuff that maybe some of the other streamers aren't going to be doing because that's the nature of our show, just kind of mixing it up a bit. More information to come on that when we have more information for you. Make sure you follow us on Twitter for all of the information related to that special stream that we'll be having. And I think I covered it all, right, Kristen?
I think we're good to go.
Cool. Rock and roll. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to the show, and we'll see you all in the real world.